But thought I'd do is just say what the idea is that at least I've signed on to decades ago of trying to get the internet to be the library of Alexandria version 2. Could we make it so that all the published works of humankind could be made available to anybody curious enough to want to have access to it? Could we build universal access to all knowledge? And that was the vision of the internet that I signed on to try to get that to happen. And you know, a bunch of pieces we're getting going, doing pretty well. But there are pieces missing. There were things that we needed to do to be able to make that all the way happen. And so I'd say that really breaking into sort of 3 areas. One is trying to get the old stuff, the analog stuff, on the net. And then there's making the things that are on the net, or born digital, permanent and permanently available. And then the third is trying to re-architect the internet so that this whole process is a lot easier going forward. I'm going to go over mostly for the first while, sort of getting the old stuff online. So books, music, video, software, and then also web. And then how do you go and then try to make that permanently available. So that's the goal of the Internet Archive, is that goal. So we're a nonprofit library. We're over in the Richmond district. You should come by. We're in an old former church. I like what people carve in stone. Boston Public Library, it says free to all. That was kind of neat, and that's sort of how the library system sees itself, is basically free public access. Well, if we want to go through, you know, getting everything online, being an engineer, I'm going to go over sort
That was part of the presentation.
So the largest library by far is the Library of Congress. It's about 28 million books. A book is about a megabyte, if you have it in Microsoft Word. Yeah.
And bring the Library of Congress in.
Yay! All right, you're one of us. So 28 million megabytes. Because mega, giga, tera. 28 terabytes. That's 4 hard drives that you can buy at Best Buy for less than you pay in rent a month. So the idea of having all the words in the Library of Congress is completely doable. The question is then, you know, if it's images, it's larger, but the idea that, well, not quite on that.
3 terabytes, $60. 3 terabytes.
Three.
I think it's terabytes, not gigs. Anyway,
3 terabytes.
they're cutting storage way down.
They're coming, anyway, it's getting cheap. And what do you get? Well, you get these books, and they start to look beautiful, right? So they're not just kind of crappy facts-like things, and we're getting used to these books being online. But you can print them back out again. So we basically made this bookmobile that you can go download, print, and bind books. And for $1 a book, you can download small books. We made some in India. This is in Alexandria, Egypt. Again, Alexandria, Egypt. Happy Kid with a book. And this is in Uganda. So the idea of taking our libraries, digitizing them, and make them available in lots of places around the world.
So they can actually print the books.
Yeah.
Print the contents of the books, and then, or how do they bind them with like a...
Yeah, well, there are these funny binding machines, but we use so there are these Rube Goldberg machines, but I think really the way it's going to go is screens. And screens are, you know, doing so well, right, because of all the smartphones and the like. That's really taking off, but you can print them. And they look just beautiful on screens. And my favorite of these devices that we digitize onto is this one. It's for the blind and dyslexic. It talks to you. So it talks a little bit like this. So we run it through optical character recognition. And the idea is to get these books from our libraries to everybody everywhere. So the universal access for us is key. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you overcome the copyright stuff?
Good question. So yeah, there's rights issues and there's cost issues. Let me get to the rights issues in a little bit with the open library system. So first, you got to digitize everything. It's the scanner in the Library of Alexandria. We designed our own scanner. It's a scanning center. We've got 33 scanning centers in 8 countries. And these are some just beautiful. There's an old Korean book. So old it has Chinese characters. This is from the Chinese Academy of Sciences. And we started to do Balinese. So Balinese write on palm leaves. So these are palm leaf books, which is just completely awesome, I have to say. And they said yes to going and digitizing everything they've ever written. We said, okay, how are they read? I said, well, they're read by priests, but they're also part of their culture of things like shadow puppet plays. And dances. And these are the actual performances of the books. I have to say I have the best job in the world. And the first complete literature of a people to go online with a Balinese. I think it's pretty great. So anyway, all right. They said yes in a way that that other groups have said, what about copyright? Right? So the Balinese just wanted to be both preserved and made more accessible. So we've got scanning centers. We do about 1,000 books every day. 30 scanning centers, 8 countries. It costs about $30 a book, about 10 cents a page to digitize a book. It's cheap. So we have these book scanners, and then we have a lot of books already, but we want more and more and more. We've got about 3 million books that are available for free because they're out of copyright. About 1 million books for the blind and dyslexic, and about 300,000 that we lend. So this is a key thing I'm trying to answer that question. Well, what does lending mean? Well, if you go to openlibrary.org, and I highly recommend it, especially for you guys, you can borrow books. So you can go borrow a book, and it's one reader at a time. If we buy the books, or if we scan the books, it's only one reader at a time. So here's a book that we bought, but it's checked out. So you can't borrow it, you can only put it on your wait list. But here's a less popular book, Mayflower Ancestors, from the Boston Public Library, and it is available. So you can click and say, I want it in this format or that format, and you can then read it. So these are books that are, you can read on screen, but it's only one reader at a time. And because it's one reader at a time, nobody's getting upset, so we keep doing it. And then you can list your books that you checked out. So even books, the idea of going and getting millions and millions of books, yes, it'll cost millions and millions of dollars, but only millions and millions of dollars. And then we'd be able to go and have these books for people all over the world, which is pretty awesome. So we're trying to scale this up to do more and more in terms of this large-scale digitization. Books, doable. Music. Well, we started with music that people wouldn't get upset about. So, you know the Grateful Dead tradition of allowing people to record their concerts and tape trade? Well, lots of other bands did this. And during the internet era, they had trouble hosting it. So we offered unlimited storage and unlimited bandwidth forever for free. And so people started hosting concerts. And so we've gotten some level of okay from 6,000 bands and have 130,000 concerts. Everything the Grateful Dead's ever done. And then we've also got online websites, music from websites that have gone under. Put those back up. People are happy about that. Net labels are internet era labels. And we're starting to work with labels that are still selling their things of LPs and CDs to go and start to do mass digitization, like the Archive of Contemporary Music. We're doing some CD digitization here in New York City. We're starting to get donations, like this Batavia Public Library in Illinois gave us 78 RPM records, about 40,000 of them. We've been getting donations of LPs now, so we can digitize these as well as getting materials that other people have been digitizing. We have volunteers as well as scanners doing CD digitization now. We're trying to ramp that up and really debugging the process, looking for more Python coders to help with this and other project, the archive. And the idea is to do a good job of the digitization. One of our users was Daniel Ellis. He was a researcher that needs to be able to get access to enormous corpora so that he can do his computer science research by going and analyzing the music. It's actually kind of a sad story. He's no longer at Columbia, being a professor at Columbia. He's at Google. And I think the reason is because he couldn't get access to the data that he needed to do his research. So we in the library field are failing a lot of modern researchers by not stepping through some of the thorny copyright issues to just get a hold of the materials. But he's awesome. We have also a listening area where people can listen to music that we can't just put out on the internet for free. So music, we're getting going on and it's going pretty well. It's pretty cost effective to digitize materials. And we have lots of people that are uploading lots of different things to archive.org. So if you have collections, you can upload them and do free hosting on the Internet Archive. Moving images. Moving images, mostly people think of it as Hollywood films. A lot of these things are still being hawked, so we only have a couple thousand of sort of feature-length films. Mostly we have, older films that, like this here from the Predator collections, for instance. And this is for Are You Ready for Marriage? Which is kind of fun, old social behavior films. So we've been digitizing these. We've got film digitization ability, but also hosting other people's films. So we were doing this long before YouTube. YouTube ran off with it and did it much better, but there's still a niche for people that want to host things on the library as opposed to on something like YouTube. We have these different film scanners, and we're getting better at videotapes with volunteers, and we're starting to do a lot more with television. We started collecting television in the year 2000, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, Iraqi, Al Jazeera, BBC, CNN, and 24 hours a day, DVD quality. It's a big TiVo box, if you will. Yeah.
If I wanted to find all the pictures of Building 7 coming down, would I be able to search for that somehow?
Yeah, Building 7 had people were kind of psyched about that because we had, there's one of the disputes there was a BBC guy standing in front of a picture of Building 7 and saying that it had collapsed, and this was sort of seen as proof that it was scripted or something. So yeah, we were kind of popular there for a while among those that are trying to figure out what happened.
So there's a way to search for stuff?
Well, at least a lot of it's all there, and searching it is a little challenging. We do have a search engine for more modern, more recent. So this is kind of an exhibit. It takes a little while to get through. But we are doing more lending to television. Starting with mid-2009, you can search words, and it will come up with U.S. television news that has those words in it. Trying to make everyone into a Jon Stewart research department. Remember in the comedy, in the Daily Show, when he would do these clips? Trying to make it so that lots of people can go and reference television. And so this is a free service on archive.org, please use it. And so the idea of even doing all video is within, including television, is within our grasp. So the idea of going and doing kind of all the published works is quite doable. So we now have 1 million movies of different forms up on the archive. This may be what you're thinking about, Frank, in terms of where some of this sends out. It may not be actually in Kralinker collection, it might be someplace else in the archive.
No,
it's actually in Oh, okay.
I don't know how we're out there.
I don't know. So we're also getting better at software. So old computer software, the problem is playing it. So we've gotten emulation to work. So you can actually emulate old computer platforms in JavaScript in your browser.
Just kind of two? The Amiga?
Yeah, the Amiga, Commodore 64, all those sorts of era things. So yeah, so you can go and if we have it, we have a lot of software, you can actually go and click and play these things. So I recommend it. It's completely fun. It's really your 8-bit past, as well as sort of get an idea of some of these things that are actually good enough to be still used, not just as nostalgia.
If we have files that are, have proprietary codecs in them, are we able to use the software here to re-excavate them?
Yeah, no, we don't have an ability to go and have you upload your Amiga software and run it yet. We'd like to, we're not quite there yet. So pretty much we've taken the things that we can find, like games and productivity software, and then we run it virtually. Speaks track. We're probably best known for crawling the web. So the idea is to go and try to capture one web page, every web page from every website every 2 months, starting in 1996. And we've been just doing it. There are now about 1,000 librarians as well, helping us build collections, subject-based collections, and we made it into the Wayback Machine. So this is what Yahoo looked like in 1996, very clean. Pets.com, which was mentioned, little sock puppets, dorky old library websites. But there's more than just sort of seeing the past in terms of how design has changed. It's also a record of our time. So this is a press release from the President of the United States on the White House website when he was standing on an aircraft carrier declaring that combat operations in Iraq had ceased. But then a few weeks later, they changed it. So they changed the press release to say major combat operations. They didn't note there was a change to the press release. They just changed it. Sort of striking of George Orwell, kind of thing. But I'm not quite sure what what's worse. Is a couple months after this, they took it down completely. So it's just gone. And so it's just a sort of, we really need archives to be integrated into our world, because otherwise we'll live in the perpetual present of what it is people think they should be promoting.
Are we able to find our old websites and download them?
Yeah.
Oh God, that's great.
Try
Thank you.
it. Try it. So we have a web archiving tool. Yeah.
Are you able to detect changes like that automatically?
Track changes?
Detect changes in website content?
Yeah.
For example, this one, how did you find
Yeah.
out about that?
Oh, the way we found this was somebody brought it to our attention.
Still reminding you, okay.
I don't know how they do it. We have web archiving tools so that people can go and build their own curated collections. For instance, the Japanese disaster in 2011, lots of people participated, and there were websites that existed and then no longer. Websites that existed and then no longer, that kind of thing. And just even that. So we have 400 institutions making collections. So the idea is to make sure that of the born digital, there are good representations of those that are passed on to the next generation. So that's the archiving service. Rare books and letters, we're getting better at digitizing these. People are expecting things to be online. It's just camera stands, but we're good at it. Next up would be personal digital archives. So how are we going to deal with materials that are in these other services that they'll come and go? So how do you go and make sure that there's digital copies of these saved that are relevant to you over time? Because it used to be you just had a shoebox under the bed, and there was a hard drive under the bed, and now it's on these services, and how it is going to stay on. So that tries to argue that you can go and take all these materials and make them available. The question is how do you preserve them? So if we want to make the Library of Alexandria version 2, we should learn from the Library of Alexandria version 1. And so what happened to the Library of Alexandria version 1? Burned, it's gone. It says it's not here anymore. Let's learn from that. So let's put copies in other places. So they put other copies into India or China. We have the other works of Aristotle in the place of Euripides. We don't. So we thought, okay, well, what can we do about that? So we actually donated a copy in 2002 of everything we had to the Library of Alexandria in Egypt. Pretty cool. They redid their first floor. If you ever in Cairo, just go. It's Alexander is beautiful, and the library there is great. We have a partial copy in Amsterdam, and then we have San Francisco. Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about what's happening at the Library of Alexandria now? It's like is it a UNESCO project or is it an Egyptian government project?
It's mostly Egyptian government. I mean, they've gotten some funding from Greece and Spain, but you know what's happened to them. So it's pretty much, it's mostly Egyptian. I mean, they get some money from different places.
And how, the Egyptian government is very authoritarian. How does that affect the access to information?
Well, they've got a Wayback
what
Machine there.
happened?
They're the only other major Wayback Machine, and they don't censor it. So I'd say they rock it. They're pretty awesome. And you look at our national libraries in the world, even going to have the Wayback Machines that are this awesome in that moment. So
you have to
yeah, I know it's counter-narrative to the sort of American bashing on the Middle East front, but it's, these guys are awesome.
I imagine if they're librarians, they are. But, so you have active collaboration and
Yeah, it's running.
Working with them?
Go to bibalex.org and use the Wayback Machine there. And it's actually, this is what we looked like in 2008. This is what the Wayback Machine looked like. It's actually a shipping container. It's a computer shipping container. It sat outside and sunlight the computers. So I can tell you how big it's a web. You have to ask me.
How big?
How big is the web? It's 20 feet by 8 feet by 8 feet. And it weighs 26,000 pounds. And if you divide it out, it's about 80 micrograms a hit. So this is what it looks like now. We're up to around 25 petabytes of data. And we're getting better at physical storage because libraries are throwing things away. So we're not just trying to collect now one copy of every digital book, we're trying to one copy of every physical book, record, movie. So we're getting better at large scale preservation style storage, not very accessible preservation storage. The universal access to all knowledge. Of our mission, I think it would be one of the great things that people have ever done. We could be up there with the Library of Alexandria or the Man on the Moon. It would be one of the treasures that our generation gives to the next, and the next, and the next. It's really to just push through that and really bring forward this idea of universal education and make it freely available to everyone. Yes.
Yeah, how do you preserve paper products? Because I used to do a lot of newspapers, and then, after about 10 years, they turned around.
Yeah, we just store them. We just store them. We don't have the money for deacidification and the likes, but so some of the there are certain eras of paper that don't preserve very well. Mostly they're pretty good.
Have you thought about database of all people?
No, we're pretty much into the published works of human kind. So we're not really building a database of people. We might do a database of music.
Do you have the groundwork for a database of people?
Yes, we could. It's a little creepy.
It's interesting though, isn't it? If you meet somebody on the street, you can go look them up.
Well, no, it's a large part of what people use the internet for. So, at least we're trying to do the published works and make them permanently available.
You work with, this is a library, in like New York City, would go and look up old newspapers and they're all on microfilm. Do you have any
if you saw that
microfilms onto a digital?
Yeah, then there's that picture of a scanning center. Down the whole row of the center are microfilm machines. Nobody wants to use microfilm anymore. This is just not any fun. So we digitize microfilm as well.
So you can theoretically, outside the San Francisco Examiner, you know,
I don't
way
think we have,
back.
I don't think we have the
way
example.
back.
There's newspaper.com, there are some sites that have really done a good job of bringing newspapers online. The British Library has done their newspapers. We haven't really done a concerted effort on newspapers, but other people have.
Did you work with the Bay Area Video Coalition's
Yeah.
archives?
Their archives, well, way back, but yeah, they're buddies.
They're big, big archives. And does this feed Watson?
Got a call from them once, and it never all the way happened.
So I heard Watson's reading everything, so we can Watson be reading this too?
Could be.
It's learning everything.
Pretty impressive, isn't it? It did, when it won Jeopardy, that was pretty impressive.
Well, if you can build external user interface devices, and if Watson can learn how to build, anything, 3D printing, and you create apps to make Watson become externally, physically manifested, then Watson could learn how to build bombs. They could read everything on how to build bombs, and then people could create external user interface devices and have it manifest, create its own things.
Talk about creepy.
Well, if it learns everything, you don't know how to do it, and then they have external apps that you can learn how to build.
Certainly, AI is on a roll. I mean, all sorts of things are happening that, we thought were going to take a lot longer or never. So it's pretty impressive. Not sure what we'll do with it all, but.
So there was an interesting what you said about maybe other organizations are downloading your entire database. Have you heard any evidence that that's happening?
Well, there are lots of crawlers. Yeah, a lot of the readers of the Internet Archive aren't human.
So maybe it is being replicated in other places, the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't know for sure.
No, people use it all the time.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Are you looking to the future when it's possible that maybe it'll be, carbon-based computing instead of silicon?
We'll use anything. We're not the leaders, we're the followers. We clean up after everybody else's stuff. We have to get it when it's cheap. Yes, Leo.
How far are you with all those? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, and different media types. I would say if we were good at selecting books, we'd need about 10 million to be at Yale, at Princeton, or Boston Public Library. And I'd say we're about 2 million if you'd sort of take a good set. So we've got about 8 million to go there. Music. For Western music, I think we're doing pretty well, actually. Television, we need more work. Web pages, I'd say we're in good shape. Movies, like classic movies, we're not all that good. So it's give and take on these different media areas. And we're starting to spread out to try to get as much as we can to try to get it so that a K through 12 or an undergraduate education can be done anywhere based on available resources that are available on the screen. And so you can really get the depth of our libraries available to the next generation rather than just Wikipedia entries, things that are kind of thin. I want to basically have the whole debate that is the human discourse available to anybody curious enough to want to have access to it.
Yeah, do you have a lot of people just donate things to you?
Uh-huh.
Like, different media?
Yeah, time. They donate time, they donate money, they donate materials, digital form or analog form. That's how we exist. We're a small place with a big ambition, and it's basically just by our doing a part of the puzzle, and it's trying to amplify the work and create permanent work of others. So we are a conduit, if you will. None of the works are ours. All of this is other people's stuff that we're keeping up the shelf. Yes, Leo.
Has the definition of published work also changed over time?
Well, the web, I think it was published, if it's made available publicly, but that's still different from the work that people did to go and make things available in book form, say, in the old days. So there's a much more informal form of publish for Born Digital.
How about notebooks?
Yeah, archives. So classic archives are like one-of-a-kind things, that sort of thing. We've done some things with that, but not that much. We're mostly concentrating on the published works.
If others have scanned in notebooks?
Sure,
Are there
yeah,
ways
hit
of
the upload
uploading
button.
it? Just upload, okay, great.
So what would you say, you just mentioned Wikipedia, and you said it's kind of thin.
Yeah, a little bit on everything.
Right, but your concept is an encyclopedia that's crowdsourced and crowd
Yeah,
generated.
isn't it fantastic?
Yes, it's amazing.
It's completely great.
And I believe they're headquartered here in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
so
great.
you guys are both in the same town.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a whole set of us. EFF, there's Public Library Science.
So is there a collaboration between,
Oh, yeah.
between kind of like, forward-thinking people who are saying,
Well, four things, the high-tech nonprofits we definitely all work together.
And
So, yeah, it's a whole sector.
so what's in the cards then? What are people talking about to?
That, right? So let's see if we can get that to happen. So we're trying to get all the old stuff online, trying to keep the stuff that's online permanently available, and then try to re-architect the web going forward to make it easier to do our job. And that third part was the decentralized web summit.
Right. So now I've heard that there's a new X Prize for creating an app that can be used for basic education. So it would be the concept of taking an app that a young person, 5, 6, 8, 10 years old, that can get the basic information on mathematics, on reading and writing, that kind of thing, so they can get their, instead of, in the developing countries, instead of trying to create more schools, to create a decentralized way for, whether it's one laptop per child or one pad per child, kind of thing, to get the education into the hands of young people so that they can have self-directed learning once they actually have that. And then there's other people working on, the more internet access in underdeveloped countries. So I guess what I'm asking is there a vision of, connecting the universal access to all knowledge into on the ground?
We'd like to, and if you have help on trying to bridge that gap, like the open educational resources movement is a really important one, and trying to get materials to people. We're sort of the big back-end guys, and there's a lot of steps to go and package these things in such a way that they're presented well. And that's actually where most of the work is, and often it's not going to be technology, it's going to be people, like teachers. And so we are just part of a puzzle. We could just be a library, and really we need help in making it so that these materials fan out appropriately and are packaged appropriately to a generation that's used to seeing things on screens. Because there's a big change. We told everybody, hey, look to the internet, and it's going to be this great library, and people look to the internet, and it's still not a great library. So let's go and fulfill the promise that we sold so many years ago. You remember well. So it's so I think the technology is going to be a component in education, and a really powerful one, and an increasing one, in all sorts of ways that we don't even know yet how it's going to be. But it's not going to be that alone. It's going to be in a context. But let's at least get the content and technology delivered to everybody, and it's cheap. I mean, the basic technology is cheap, so let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, with WikiLeaks and all that, have you ever had problems with the government saying that you had,
Sure. Yeah, so we archive all of WikiLeaks. For instance, we got hit with one of those national security letters, which is one of these demands for information where you can't tell anybody you even got one. But I'm telling you about it, so there's, at the end of the story is. So, and the only way that you can push back on this is you have to sue the United States government. So we sued the United States government and we won. There's only been 3 that have done this. And the only way that we let them out of the lawsuit is allowing us to be able to tell about it. So, yeah, by being a library, people kind of understand the, some of the dangers of surveilling people about what people read and rounding them up. And so, you know, that's recent enough history for a lot of people that libraries get a special role in the world. And, you know, as I started, the talk was free to all. And actually, I'm gonna, one more slide, last slide. Is above the door in the Carnegie Library in Pittsburgh is free to the people. So libraries are special. Thank you very much.
Can you tell us?